Thank you. Thanks. It's going to be a long day. I may just walk back and have you do that again. I can get as much of that. I really appreciate the opportunity to say a few words. And as I always say, it's always dangerous to give a pastor a mic and then say a few words. But I promise you, I'll be brief. My point here is, one, to welcome you on behalf of Stonebriar. It is our great privilege to have hosted this for a decade plus now, and we feel it's a really vital and good and right, important ministry because you matter. And if we can use the facilities that we've been given to support a worthy and right and good ministry program like this, it is our great honor. So welcome on behalf of Stonebriar. I also want to say a thank you to all those who put this on. Those of you who are involved in doing things like this, it doesn't just happen. And they're all volunteers. So no, you don't get any more money, Foster. So I just really want to thank Foster and John and Pete, and I know I'm going to miss a few names, but those who are up front taking your registration, grateful that we try and be the hands and feet of God to do things like this. So thank you to them. Thank you to everyone who's taken the time to come. And so I do just want to say a word or two, and then I'll close in prayer, and then you can get on with your morning. But if there's anything we can do here at Stonebriar, please let one of the volunteers know, and we'll get to you as soon as we can. So a couple of years ago, I had a couple of health crises that made me think and consider things. And I think life has what you could kind of call inflection points. There are certain times in your life where things happen where there seems to be this opportunity for you to take stock, for you to reload, to refigure things out, because the pace of life is so rapid, and we're just trying to get through the day that we often spend days, weeks, months, years, decades without stopping and doing much of any kind of inventory at all to see. And so I had this reflection point, and maybe you're at that place now. Maybe this will encourage you. Maybe this will put something in your brain that at some point in time you'll use this season as an inflection point to maybe do this very simple exercise. And it starts with this question. And most of us ask this question, but I found in my own personal life that a lot of times I leave it at an existential or an ethereal or something that is just a question that never has any substance to it. And so after I had these health crises, I was able to not only ask the question, but I actually took the time to unpack it a little bit, and that is simply, what is important to you? And the way that I started is I just brain dumped a list of things that were important to me, from work to spouse, tried to be as specific as possible. But I came up with about 18 different things that had some kind of import to me. And then I ranked them. Kind of the first 6 I put as essentials. The next six were kind of nice to haves. And then the final 6 were non-essentials, but nonetheless, I had value in them. And then here's the tough part. Is I took a little personal inventory. I asked people who were close to me, who would have a sort of a stakeholder in that particular value. And I really did take the time to unpack that. And I looked actually at my life, how I spent, the 3 things: your time, your money, and your energy. Those are the 3 resources we kind of have, kind of who we give ourselves to from a energy times, and time is pretty valuable, money's pretty valuable. So I looked at those things, and not unlike, and there was a disconnect between the things that I established as value, and I didn't do this hurriedly, talked to people who knew me, and then I looked at how actually I was spending my resources. And then I've gone about the business of realigning my life to the best that I could to match how I spend my resources to the things that I have as value. And that's really the message that I have. And I'm not sure, where you're at, obviously, but I know that there's this truth that our Bible talks about. And our Bible talks about today. Today is a day. Today is a day. And we all know that, when we're thinking a lot about our past, there's an opportunity for anger to grow. And we're thinking a lot about our future, there's an opportunity for anxiety to become fervent. But our scriptures and wisdom says today is the day. I'm a big believer in recovery ministries. And in that recovery ministry, today is the day. And so today, maybe it's your day. Today is the day that maybe you begin to say, okay, because it takes time. You don't switch dramatically, but to align a life of how I spend my resources with what I'm doing shouldn't just be an ethereal exercise. Because I don't know about you, but I woke up one day and I'm 67 years old. I don't know how I got there. And I don't get to go back and say, yeah, I should have done that at 50. I wish I would have done that. Today is your day. A very familiar prayer in Scripture I'm going to end with. And that is out of Matthew 6, verses 9 through 13. And it goes, pray then like this. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive our debts as we have forgiven other debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Give us this day. And I pray this day is a day that you begin to move because you have worth and you have value. And you're here because you believe you have worth and value. So honor that and take the time to kind of begin that exercise. Don't just leave it as something that is, again, that ethereal, existential exercise. Father, be present in this room today. Be with those who speak. I pray that your Holy Spirit is active and alive and moving, that you meet everyone right where they're at. I don't know where they're at, but you do. So, Lord, whatever needs to be occurring in the hearts and souls and minds of those that are gathered here, whether it's a conviction, whether it's a comfort, whether it's a prodding or whether it's a reassurance, give them their daily bread today. So, Lord, thank you for the humble privilege of hosting this beautiful service, this beautiful ministry. And again, may your Spirit move in the lives of all of those that are gathered here today. And it is in your name I pray. Amen. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, Steve. Okay, we'll roll on now. The question was brought to me, and it's not going to happen, but just in case, if there was an emergency like a severe hailstorm or tornado, where would you go? You stay right here. This is one of the safe rooms on this campus where we gather people if we need to. So don't worry about it. Just relax. Have a good time, network, meet new people, get new information. Going on. All right, Foster. You are ready. You're up. Did you clock in? Okay, I turned my phone off. Yeah? Why? Here you go, brother.
Thanks, you and Steve. Hey, good morning, Frisco Connect. All right. I am Foster Williams, guys. I've been a recruiter forever and ever and ever. Did I say ever? And I'm the founder, creator of the Career Search Network, of which Frisco Connect is one part of, probably the biggest part of the CSN. So I'm always talking about this network, but before I say anything about that, I want to say something that Steve got me started thinking. So we guys have gone to these churches all of our lives, and we're in a building. Y'all know where the church is? What's the church? It's us, isn't it? We've heard about God doing all these things. He's been accused of all of this stuff. And I just want to say, because my dad's a pastor and I'm not, is that all that stuff is real, y'all. I've lived my life. I've seen some of this stuff. So you guys go to God and tell him, hey, I need a job. He already knows. Ain't like he don't know. He made us all. So let's do that, guys. And I'm always talking about this network to go to the next order of information here. Morning, Mutu. All right, I get to make wonderful friends in my job. I love it. So I want to tell you guys what comprises of this network. So there's a guy walking around back there in the back named Pete Hernandez. Pete, wave your hands if you will. Pete is one. He is our true leader here at Frisco Connect. And right back there by Pete is the Thomas Edwards group, ladies. There is Sophie Harden and Sarah Jacob. Sarah is an Aggie, and y'all just bear with her. I had to throw that out there, Sarah. You know I don't mean no harm. So, guys, let's see who else. I've got my little cheat sheet. I don't want to miss anybody. Bob Ernst. Where's Bob? Where did he go? Bob was here. Bob is a representative of Edward Jones Investments, and he does a good job, and he'll tell you about opportunities that Edward Jones has. And where is he? There he is, right back there. That's Bob Ernst, E-R-N-S-T. Not of Ernst & Young, but bigger and better than Ernst & Young. This is Bob's church, and Bob offers his services here. Now, I just saw John Ernest. There he is, right there. Wave your hand, John. John, guys, he's taking Ron's place this morning. We usually see Ron representing the pit crew. Now, you guys know what the pit crew is? Some of you guys don't. So it is the practice interview team, practice interview squad. It's a lot of times they got a lot of names. But guys, it is exactly what it sounds like. When we have an interview coming up that we want to be lock, stock, and we want to be right on time because we think we want that opportunity. And I say think. Guys, we got a whole network to tap into, find out what we're getting ourselves into. So that is a practice interview team. And a lot of you guys see my hat today, right? I never have a hat on because I have integrity. This was given to me by my buddy Anna Parker. Where'd Anna go? There she is, right over there. Anna is a recruiter. You guys during the break or any time that you get an opportunity, you want to meet Anna K. Parker. She is a recruiter at Integrity. And Anna's got a whole table of goodies back there set up for us. And thanks, Anna. That's what we do. That's what I try to do is build a relationship. Knew I was going to say that word, right? Build a relationship with companies that are hiring and doing things. And I get a chance to build relationships with some real good people. I've known Anna since like the first week she was even in recruiting. So we were buddies and we both played soccer in our day and all that kind of stuff. So there's always somewhere, guys, when we're talking about building these relationships, there's always somewhere you can connect just about with everybody you meet. Find that connection point and build a relationship if you can. All right, Sonia. Where's Sonia Lowry? There is Sonia right over there. Guys, every Monday, we have Monday Motivators that meets, and you guys want to get to know Sonia because she works for the Lee Hecht Harrison. Lee Hecht Harrison, guys, is an outplacement. They're probably the most branded outplacement place that there can be. When I first started doing what I do now, they told me, you need to meet Sonia Lowry. So I did. And thanks for connecting with me, Sonia, and thanks for allowing me to be a part of your network. All right. let's go to Jeff Moore. Where's Jeff? I saw Jeff this morning. Where's Jeff? A lot of you guys know Jeff's product, and it is careerdfw.org. Everything that we're looking for is on careerdfw.org. It's got the meetings, it's got professional associations, all sorts of compiled information that is real good for job seekers to know. Is at careerdfw.org. If you're not familiar with it, go check it out, and you'll understand when you check it out why Foster's talking about it. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for everything you've done for years and years. Jeff and I have been at it. Yeah. You guys seeing a lot of information scrolling behind me here. You will find Trevor Houston and Mark Elder are owners, founders, everything with Clear Path Wealth Strategies. And you guys will remember us because we were on the Who You Know Job Networking Show. Remember that? And we're still going. It's still going out there. You guys get to know and get to talk to Trevor and Mark about a great number of things in this network. They have helped put this network together. Okay, I think I've got everything covered. John, Pete, did I miss anything? Anybody? Okay, good. Then I get to get out, I get to go shut up, and I am excited to introduce you guys to Dee Robinson. Now, Dee was right over there. Where'd Dee go? There she is, there. Dee is gonna be telling us, guys, we're gonna look from stem to stern at job search today. Now, Dee is a Dee's a VP of HR. In other words, she's #1 HR person. Long time ago, you guys might remember a company called Zodiac Aircraft Seats. That was who you started with, wasn't it? And then Safran came in. It's a big old company. She's going to tell us a little bit about Safran. I think they're French. Did I get it right? Okay. And she's going to tell us a little bit about Safran. She is retired, guys. Now, a lot of you guys will get the spirit of what we're doing here, trying to get the right information out to all job seekers. Here, South Lake Focus Group, other groups, some that Pete and I have created. We like to get you guys together so you can share information. Everybody knows somebody. You can share information and help each other get to those companies, those jobs that you're looking to get to. The right careers, guys, not just a job. You need to take a job. You're not going to just stay there at some old job. Get the right opportunity, and you can do that if you take the time. And we're going to see an influx of more of this as we're going forward, because job search, somebody told me the other day that job search is not easy. Were they telling the truth? Well, Alice, I don't know. So, Dee, if you would come on up, we're going to look at from stem to stern, as I said a while ago, job search, what we need to be doing. We're looking at it from the eyes of a VP of HR, my friend here. Now, Dee and I went to the same college.
Go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green, that's right. I'm gonna see if I can't get you know how to do that thing?
The Eagle Claw.
The Eagle Claw, yeah. So, this lady here sitting next to me, I've known for a while. I didn't even know her when we were going to school together. But God brings his people together. We met later and we said, hey, we're Mean Green Eagles. So now you guys are going to hear from a Mean Green Eagle, and please take it away. And you're going to use that thing, aren't you?
I am.
Okay.
All right.
I'm out of here.
Let me get this pulled up. Thank you, guys. All right. I am going to pull this stool over to the side, and we're just going to have a fireside chat. Actually, I just came out of a boot with a broken foot, and so it's the first day I'm in real shoes, truth be told. Can I just say to Pastor Steve, thank you for the message that today is your day. Every one of you is here for a very specific reason, and we are so glad. We are so glad. 10 years ago, I sat where you're sitting. So while Foster talked about, oh, she's done this and blah, 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 I was laid off for 11 months, 2 boys in college. My husband's a 4th grade teacher. And it was quite a journey. But what I learned is all of these amazing resources that are available to job seekers. And so it's my passion, it's my heart to share with you what I've learned in my own search and what my perspective is sitting behind the HR desk. So that's a little bit about what you're gonna get today. I wanna start out by talking about Eden Real. You probably don't know Eden Real, but you will. Imagine being a psychologist and deciding you're going to jump out of an airplane, you're going to skydive, and you're going to land off the coast of Newport Beach. And you're really not a good swimmer. Now, guys, this was not a tandem jump. Her very first jump was a solo jump in 1972. You're gonna get a link to the movie, the video. It's called You Pack Your Own Chute. That's why you see parachutes on this slide, because preparation overcomes fear, and that's what this is about. So we'll talk a little bit more about her, but as she's talking with the skydiver instructor, she says to him, she says, are you ever scared? He says, no, I pack my own chute. So that's the point. I want to help you pack your chute today, remove some of the fear, give you some of the encouragement. So let's get started. We will have time for questions and answers after the break, and this presentation will be made available. All right, here's where we are. What's the meaning of life, right? You're feeling it right now. Here's what I would say. The fact that you're feeling this is completely normal, okay? It can be very healthy. This is a time of introspection for you. When I was, during my search, met with a lot of great people, great coaches, and, you know, do I stay in HR? By the way, my entire career, except for my very first 2 jobs, was in aerospace and defense. Now, HR transcends industries, so maybe I want to change industries. Although I did love union negotiations. We can talk about that. And I love to buy a car to this day because I will win. She said to me, she said, Dee, don't reject what you're good at. So remember that. Reflect on yourself. What am I good at? Okay, because what employers want to know, they want to know about you, the person, and what you're going to bring. So while you're reflecting, do I do consulting? Do I do gig economy? Do I go big corporate? Do I go small scale? Do I go startup, private equity? Just keep in mind and really reflect on, okay, so what am I good at? All right, so you've got to be organized in your search. And I want to introduce you to Thomas Jackson. Thomas Jackson is a real guy. You can see now he has cybersecurity. And at one point, Thomas Jackson, he was in the DFW area, got laid off. And what does any good IT guy do? But he creates his own website. And in it, he posted all of these tools and tips for job seekers. So I want to share with you one that I really like. And this is this Excel file. And by the way, the presentation has hot links to all of this as well, so you'll be able to get it. Now, today you could probably go to ChatGPT and tell it to give you a tracking device to track all of these things, generate 7 columns, fit on 1-page landscape, blah, 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 and it'll kick it out for you. Or you can use Thomas Jackson's. So the elements of it. First, you'll see it's one file and it tracks the career websites. Where have you uploaded your resume? Right? Monster, Ladders, Dice, maybe some association groups, SHRM, wherever. You need to know where you have put your resume. You need to know which version of your resume you've placed there, and you need to update it every week or every other week. And if you're not tracking it, you're gonna get lost because recruiters want the new, fresh, shiny thing that shows up. And so they're gonna be looking for that most recent post, that most recent resume that's been uploaded. So you need to track where you are, or where you put it. Then, of course, you want to track where have you applied, your resume submissions, and what's the status. Did someone connect you? Did someone make an introduction? And then networking. Now, the networking tab, honestly, I don't think is as critical now because LinkedIn has really enhanced itself over the last 5 or 10 years. So you can see some things more chronologically in terms of your connections and your dates of connections. But it is important if you make a meaningful connection, maybe you want to know, okay, this is the person I met, this is where I met them, and this is the introduction that they gave me. For those of you that have been recently laid off and that are collecting unemployment or will be collecting unemployment, this also is a great tool to document all of your activities. And depending on the county where you live, depends on how many job search activities you have to complete in a week. Now, TWC has their own form, but they can audit you for up to a year after you've received benefits. So again, another reason to stay organized so that in the unlikely event you're audited, you've got all the documentation there. Okay. So now we're organized, now we've got a mechanism and a way to measure or to track our progress. Now let's talk about how we're gonna spend our time. Most people, bless you, most people spend most of their time initially applying. We panic apply, and we believe in the odds of statistics, that if I throw enough resumes against the wall, something is going to stick and I'll get an interview. And that's simply not the reality of how it works anymore. You need to be spending most of your time networking. So kudos to the 100 or so people that are in this room who showed up in person, those connections, those handshakes, those getting to know yous. This is where the magic happens in your job search. Yes, you're gonna spend some time applying. You also need to be spending time in skills development because it's okay to have a gap. And by the way, virtually every recruiter that you're gonna talk to has had a gap. Because when there's a downturn or a pause, the first thing that goes in HR is recruiters and training. That's what companies will cut first. But the question is, so what have you been doing since your last job? And you need to have some good answers for that. There's a ton of learning, free learning. Last month's presentation, Pete talked about that. Pete and the other team members talked about things that are available at your library. So go back and watch last month's presentation from Frisco Connect to get all the details on all of those free learnings. But how are you staying current? Then some interview prep. This is where you're going to be researching the company. We're going to talk about that in a little bit in terms of getting ready for your interview. But again, the majority of your time needs to come through networking. Now, as it was said earlier, Career DFW, this is the Grand Central Station. This is your brain and your heart that will keep your search going. So again, Jeff, I think you moved. Thank you. Oh, there you are. All right. Thank you so much for what you have done and what you and the volunteers continue to do. So to point out, on the left-hand side, you see training, right? Link today, it's Tuesday. What's Tuesday? LinkedIn Tuesday, 1 o'clock, virtual. Friday in Plano, hybrid or in person. Please go in person if you can, more networking. more training and learning opportunities there. In the center, you see the videos. So one of the good things that came out following COVID or during COVID is all of these volunteer support organizations had to pivot. And so now what was once available only to people that could burn up gas and tolls between South Lake and here and North Fort Worth and Arlington now can join and participate virtually. And so all of those things are recorded on the YouTube channel for Career USA. And then you've got the calendar. When you click on it, click everything, and then don't click on the version on the left. It looks like what your calendars were looking like when you were working, where everything's jumbled up. You want to click on the agenda view, which shows you this very clean view. So what I would do is I would look at the end of the week, I would look forward to the next week to see what activities are going on, what meetings am I attending, and then that's how I would plan my week for the next week. Now, inside the Career USA YouTube channel, and by the way, there's an entire, it's linked, I blew past it on the last slide. There's a YouTube on how to use this to benefit your job search. So as a starting point, if you don't know careerdfw.org and Career USA, go ahead and start with that one article or that one video. Okay, let's talk about what's happening in your search. If you're applying and not hearing anything at all, you need to work on your resume. If you're getting the phone calls, the recruiter's calling you, and maybe you're not getting past the recruiter or you're getting first and second, then that tells me your resume's getting good traction. That's a pretty good strategy, what you're doing, but you need to work on the interviewing part. Well, you can see the abundant number of videos here from all of these recorded workshops, and these still get posted today, that you can go back and watch. So please take advantage of this. If you're driving, don't watch the videos. Just turn your phone over and listen to it like a podcast, but use all your drive time. Maximize this. Fill yourself with good information. So again, Career GFW, Career USA, really the Grand Central Station that's going to direct everything in your search beyond networking. All right, let's talk about networking. What is networking? Networking, as they say at South Lake, right? Help one person every day. Networking is about giving and much less about taking. Now, I want to point out this quote from Bob Bodine, these two quotes. Anybody know who Bob Bodine is? Oh, all right. So Bob Bodine is one of the top executive recruiters in the country, and he spends a lot of time in the sports arena. So things like NBA coaches, UFC leadership, volleyball, basketball organizations. He's the guy that helps find the next great coach that's going to help teams win. He also does some other stuff. He says 87% of jobs are filled by a friend. A friend will help you now. An acquaintance will wish you well. So here's my question to you. Do your friends know that you need a job, that you are in search for your next great job? It takes vulnerability. It takes posting on your social media accounts. It takes knowing what you want, because people want to help you. They do. But they need to know how to help you so that they can connect the dots. The other thing is, hang on just a second, I've got a block here. People don't care how interesting you are, they care how interested you are. So this is that coming back and forth. I've given you some resources. You can check all the networking groups that are listed. But my job when I landed came through my network. Jeff Barrows and I were in the HR networking group together, and he got a phone call about an HR leadership job at Zodiac Seats in Gainesville, Texas. And he told the recruiter, he said, "Greg, I don't have those skills. You need to talk to Dee Robinson." Because we had spent time together. We had sat around these tables. We had networked with one another to really understand the background, the skills, the challenges, all of those things that come. And it was through my network that I got the interview that was led by Korn Ferry, which at the time, I couldn't bust into Korn Ferry. I couldn't get exposure. It's very different now, thankfully, and they've got a lot more resources for job seekers. But it was tough to break into Korn Ferry if I didn't have a connection, and I didn't. And Jeff gave me that, and fortunately, it all worked out. Okay, let's talk about LinkedIn. So, elements in your search, right? You've got your organized approach, you've got an organized strategy, you've got your network, your meetings that you're attending, and then you've got this amazing tool, LinkedIn. Today is LinkedIn Tuesday. Every Tuesday at 1, there are meetings, and those meetings are recorded. So if you think your LinkedIn needs a refresh, go watch those. Now, Terry Sullivan doesn't allow his to be recorded because Terry is an expert in the use of LinkedIn for business-to-business growth. So that is his secret sauce. The beauty, though, is he comes and presents, and then if you message him, he'll give you a 15-minute consult for free, where other companies are paying him for his knowledge. So please, please take advantage. Now, I've put up here a picture of mine. You'll notice in that header, it has my contact info. Make yourself easy to find. And this is easy to build. You go to Canva, and you tell Canva, build me a LinkedIn banner suitable for business, HR, whatever, IT, engineering. They are free. Some you have to pay for. Guys, don't ever pay for anything in your search, please, because there's too much free stuff and too many people willing to help you. So go to Canva, personalize it, and put your email in there. Otherwise, a recruiter, when they want to find you, has to click on the More button. Then they have to click on the Contact button. And then I was trying to find a job seeker, and it turns out they didn't even have their email in the contact info. So I wound up, obviously, through messaging on LinkedIn and was able to return a connection that way. So make it easy for the recruiters to find you and to communicate with you. Refresh it and use today's language. Now, if you're an early career person, that's not a problem for you. For instance, for me though, my first job, earlier jobs, was as a personnel representative. Ever see that in your organizations today? Nope. And then our VP had a great idea to align us very strongly with our clients and our customer base, and she called us customer support reps. That sounds like I'm working at a call center. Yeah. So my LinkedIn doesn't use those titles. My resume doesn't use those titles. I use HR business partner because that's what speaks in today's language. So it's okay on your resume and on your LinkedIn that you don't have to be precise with the title that was on the job offer from 2002 or 2012. Make it current and speak today's language. Then you need to join large groups of interest. Maximize your groups, guys. This is a huge networking opportunity because when you do this, you can send 5 messages a month for free. So I've given you some here that have approaching or over 2 million members. If Target, or if Toyota of North America is one of your target companies, and you don't have any connections there, my guess is in those 2 million members, there's probably someone at Toyota North America that you could reach out to. So use this to your advantage. I used to love the Harvard Business Review one. Unfortunately, once a group hits 3 million, LinkedIn won't let it grow. So also look at young careers, look in your area of expertise in IT job search, engineering jobs, whatever is going to be specific to you. This is a great way to grow your network, and then engage on that page. Engagement is really, really important for LinkedIn. And then go look at your competition. Go look at other supply chain directors. What does their LinkedIn look like versus yours? Is it compelling? Whose would you rather interview, them or you? So if you hit a block, and sometimes we do, we're not sure. There's some jobs where people I talk with really struggle in terms of how do I convey results in this job? Well, go look at what other people on LinkedIn, how are they conveying results when you perform similar jobs? And then I say, don't pay for premium. I mean, unless there's something really, really special that you need, you shouldn't be paying for premium, right? This is in that financial management side of it. Is it interesting to know if a company looked at your resume? Sure. But other than you getting the name of a recruiter who may or may not reply when you reach out to them, I wouldn't spend the money. And again, no reason to pay. Now, there are other partners in your search that you need to be aware of. ChatGPT and AI. That you need to be spending time using these tools. And there, again, are presentations. John Ernett did one last week in Plano dedicated to the use of ChatGPT and AI in your search. Handshake. If you were early career, college graduate, less than 3 to 5 years, you need to be engaged on Handshake. Handshake is like the LinkedIn for college grads. And companies who don't want their inboxes full of 20-year experienced people will post only on Handshake. So be sure that you're using that as a tool. And then check out your alumni group. Some colleges and universities will support alumni, not just seniors, out of their own career centers. So another tool that you can use. Okay, so let's talk about the process. So, RAFT. Research, apply, follow up, and thank you. By the way, that is a Zodiac, now Safran, emergency evacuation raft that comes out of the airplane. It was deployed when Sully landed on the Hudson. Thankfully, everyone, as we know, that story had a great ending. But yeah, Zodiac and now Safran makes a lot of stuff for an airplane that you hope you never see. Like this, like the rafts, like your oxygen systems. Okay, research. Find your target companies, right? People want to help you, but they need to know how. So can they make an introduction? Think about, again, small company, big company, private equity, startup, independent, publicly traded, privately held, all of those kinds of things. Then you're going to go look at the job openings. So I had 3 when I was in search: Burlington Northern Santa Fe, Toyota, and the Container Store. Those were my 3 target companies. And you go out to the website on their career page and you see if they have any jobs available. And then you're going to create your candidate profile and you're going to apply with a customized resume that we're going to talk about in the A. But before you apply, you're going to go look at your LinkedIn. You're going to go look in those member groups and see if there is anyone that works in those companies that could give you some information. Would they be willing to have a 6-minute conversation, an 8-minute conversation, very briefly to talk about what's going on in the organization or the department? And some suggest don't reach out to the HR people, go find a manager in an adjacent department that might be able to offer some time for you. Okay, so you've done the research piece. Now it's time to apply. So you're going to apply, and you're going to apply with a customized resume. So if you're not getting traction on your resume, then you need to go back and look at your resume strategy. And normally what I find is people aren't customizing it enough, or they're leaving in things that aren't relevant to that specific topic. I've got a slide or two on resumes. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But what if there's not a job available? Then you're going to create a candidate profile with keywords. And this is where the magic happens. I'll take Burlington Northern Santa Fe. Anytime I created a profile, keywords, human resources, very broad. So let's talk about what happens with recruiters. Are any recruiters in the room? Foster, okay. Oh, over there, yes, of course, thank you. And thank you for your generosity of being here today. How about hiring managers? Anybody here a hiring manager? You've never had to hire a person? Okay, yeah, there you go. All right. Let me tell you what's happening behind the scenes. So you've had an employee who got a bigger, better deal, got their next great job, and they left. They gave 2 weeks' notice, which, by the way, baffles my French colleagues because they have to give like 3 to 6 months' notice. So they're, so they've given notice. As a manager, you have to decide, am I going to fill it at the same level? Am I going to upgrade? Am I going to downgrade? Do I even get approval to backfill? Is there a job description? Did I write it as a manager? Does HR have one? And time is ticking, okay? Now the manager has finally gotten a plan, gotten approval. Now they have to go to their director. I would imagine during these times of uncertainty, it also has to go to a vice president, might have to go over to someone in finance to sign off. So by the time it finally gets to the recruiter, they are behind. And the manager is, I'm not gonna say desperate, anxious, eager, right? Because now we've got an empty chair. It's been more than 2 weeks. Now the team is having to pull the weight. The manager's having to dig in a little deeper on the details of the job. So this is why you want to set up your candidate profiles. Because the minute Burlington Northern Santa Fe got approval and that recruiter posted the job, and the way applicant tracking systems work is it starts in their own corporate career page, and then recruiters can click these other options of where they want it to be posted. The minute that they post that job, you get an email. There's a new job at Burlington Northern Santa Fe with a keyword HR. And what do? You reprioritize your day, is what you do. And you customize your resume and the cover letter. We'll talk about that. I believe in it. I know Pete doesn't. That's okay. We all have different opinions on search strategies. And you're going to apply. Because by the end of that day or the next day, the hiring manager is already bugging the recruiter wanting to know if they've gotten any resumes. And you're going to be, yes. Yeah. Right. And these notifications put you at the front of the line. That's what you want. Okay, you're gonna customize, and let's talk about applications through LinkedIn or Indeed. If you see jobs that have the word sponsored or promoted, then you know that the company has paid to put that job there. They are spending their money to generate candidates. If you don't see those words, then you need to go back to the company's career page. And in fact, I recommend that you always go back to the company's career page. Because if a recruiter doesn't unclick the right thing, jobs are gonna show up and they're gonna look like real jobs, and they've taken it down. They're not interested. They've got 200 resumes to review. So always start at the corporate career page when you apply. And then when you apply, you're going to apply with your customized resume that you have saved in a very specific naming convention, whatever works for you, right? You see here, I applied at SEP, Safran Electrical and Power, for a manufacturing engineering job. That's how I know which resume I put into their system, because that's the version I'm going to hand carry with me when I go for my interview. Then you're gonna follow up. You're gonna check the system. You can email the recruiter, and it's not hard to find the nomenclature, right? Is it dee.robinson@safrangroup.com, or is it Safran? I mean, do a little digging. It's not hard to figure out. Ask ChatGPT. It'll probably tell you. Send them an email letting them know of your interest, and then you can also call them if you can find a number. I would say Wednesday afternoons and Friday afternoons are best. Stay away from Mondays. And then always send a thank you as you go through this process for anyone who has given you an introduction, who has given you an informational interview, the courtesy of a conversation. Always thank them. However, do not use their name when you interview, unless you are absolutely certain that that person is a bright and shining star in that organization, okay? It might be your husband's golf buddy that has given you a recommendation, and he's a great golf buddy and he's a great friend, but what he hasn't disclosed is he got a needs improvement on his performance review and he's on a PIP. So you don't necessarily want that guy championing and you using his name unless you're absolutely certain what his reputation is inside the organization. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't include a slide on how to create a Safran profile. We have 8 businesses, and I still say we. My heart is there. It's an amazing company, very successful. We have 8 businesses in DFW alone. So check it out, and if you find a job that you are interested in and you apply, please let me know. Cover letters. All right. Your job is to do the recruiter's job for them and put you in the yes pile. This is what you need to do as an applicant. This is why I'm a huge fan of the cover letter, and specifically of the prompt for a T format cover letter. So you copy the resume, you copy the job description, you paste it into ChatGPT, and you say, generate a cover letter comparing the requirements of the job on the left to my qualifications on the right. Guys, it's 5 minutes. Obviously, okay, job descriptions, let's talk about this, right? Managers want a purple unicorn. So you're gonna see job descriptions with 42 bullets. If it seems familiar, you need to apply. Don't worry about the 42 bullets, you need to apply. If this is a job that you know you've got the skills and can do, that you're ready for. So this cover letter might be very long because if it had 42 bullets, but you know this job. You know what this is. So pull out what are the 5 most important things? What are the must-haves for anybody that's going to step into this role? And highlight, and obviously, those are going to be the areas where you have tremendous strength and you can point out the value that you're going to bring to the organization in your cover letter. This is also a great thing to put in your thank you. If you send an email thank you, summarize. Here's what I heard. Here's what you're looking for. Here's what I'm going to bring to the organization. Resumes. We all have an opinion, don't we? Yep. ATS, long, short, how many pages? Couple things. Let's talk about the content. Okay. Left-hand side has got to be the most important. You've probably heard this. A recruiter is going to give you somewhere between 10 to 20 seconds of a scan. So it's got to be obvious. The top half to top third needs to contain a compelling professional summary and your key competencies, which, by the way, match that specific job description. So those competencies that you post are going to change with every application that you submit, with every resume that you submit. Okay, dates, go to the far right. Month and year. If you don't give me month and year, the recruiter can't do HR math, okay? You tell me you worked there from 2021 to 2023. Well, that could be 13 to 14 months, or it could be 35 months. And a recruiter has to check the box. If it says a job requires 7 years of experience, they've got to do HR math and add it up. So make it easy for them to put you in the yes pile. If you don't put that, they're probably going to look past you. Do not put your dates of education unless you are a recent college grad. And education probably goes at the bottom. And do not include any hobbies unless it is specific to the job that you're applying for. Customized, we've talked about that. Again, ChatGPT becomes your best friend. AI becomes your best friend here. Now, a word on that. Using AI is like having a personal assistant or an intern. They're going to give you a good start, but this is your final work product. So I was working with a guy last week, finance guy, didn't have many results on his resume. And I said, well, let's see how ChatGPT can reword this. And so I said, the prompt I put in was use this resume and provide some key results from the experience provided. Well, it said he reduced, cash days by 25%. I said, was 25% on here? He goes, no. So ChatGPT will just make up stuff. Okay, so you need to be sure that it's not they're called hallucinations. It will try and fill in the blank. So use it to customize your resume, but make sure that you know every number and fact that is on there. But here's the really important part. It needs to be about you. You've got to differentiate yourself. If you're applying for an accounts payable clerk and all you give me are bullets that look like they came off a job description, I have no way to know what makes you better. Why do I want to hire you compared to somebody else who's talked about receiving awards, who's talked about reducing payable delays, all of these kinds of things? So focus on results. By the way, there is a great Career USA YouTube on an accomplishments-based resume. So you need to go watch it. Okay. Great. They called you and you've got an interview. Congratulations. So now what do? First, you're going to research the company. You're going to look at earnings reports you're going to go to Glassdoor, because Glassdoor is going to tell you a couple of things. People may be posting salary ranges. Now, those are employee self-reported. Very cautious when it comes to compensation. And I've got a slide on job offers that we'll talk about. But sometimes people self-report higher dollars in anticipation of trying to drive up demand and what they can get. But you want to get the names of the people that you're going to be interviewing with. This is really important. You want this in advance because you're going to go to LinkedIn and you're going to research them. You're going to see what you can find out about them. And the reason you do not send them a connection, you're not a connection. But what you're going to do is look for something that you have in common. Oh, they went to the Naval Academy? Your brother-in-law went to the Naval Academy. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like, me and Foster, I mean, let's be honest, we were BFFs like this once we figured out we were mean green. I mean, it runs deep, right? And same for some of your alumni organizations. But this is what's going to make you memorable in the interview, is being able to have just a bit of a warmth connection with the people that you're interviewing with. So do your research and figure out, is there something I can glean? Look at their work history. Maybe you both worked in the same industry. I mean, it doesn't have to be direct. Look on Glassdoor. I mentioned salaries. Look for their interview process. You know this, right? You go to Glassdoor, you enter the company name, and you scroll over and it says interviews. And people post what job they applied for. Oh, I applied for a project manager at CMC Construction, and these were the questions. This was the process. The recruiter called me for 15 minutes. 2 weeks later, I interviewed with the hiring manager. They asked me these 4 questions. I mean, you can get a lot of information, a lot of good information. And don't just, even if they don't have your job title that you're applying for, still study and see, because there tends to be a similarity in the pattern of how they're going to ask interview questions. All right, guys, the pit crew. We heard about it earlier. And I love seeing some of my pit crew family here today. So it is great that you are here. I'm going to go a little deeper and tell you about the pit crew. So sorry, John, if you were planning to speak after me about this. Okay. This was one of the most meaningful places during my 11-month search where I showed up every week. Every week. And here's how it works. So as Foster explained earlier, what you do is you email your job description and your resume, and it could be a job description that you've applied for, or an aspirational job, or maybe you're in the second round. As much as you can provide to that email address, dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, and then Ron Layton or John, while Ron's out, will send, we've got panelists that have volunteered. By the way, those of you that were hiring managers, if you've ever had to sit across the desk and let someone go, congratulations, you meet the qualifications as a panelist. I need to see you there tomorrow so that you can see how this goes. So John sends out the email of here are 3, and we take 3 a week, and there's a backlog. We take 3 a week, and he says, here are the 3 resumes, who would like to be a panelist? And we get to pick as a panelist. Then what we do is we spend 1 to 2 hours individually prepping so that when you come into that interview, right, CMC Construction is a project manager. I know their mission, vision, and values. I know who the CEO is. I have studied. And my questions, you're going to feel like you were talking to HR at CMC Construction, or a project manager, or an IT leader, or a quality supervisor, whoever, depending on the job. So as the interviewee, you come in, I'm 3 panelists, we're prepped and ready. You come in and you sit in front of us. Now, if you're not a panelist, why would you show up? because you're going to hear amazing interview questions and responses. And as an observer, you're going to get to give feedback to the people that are interviewing. So you are an active participant in helping one person every day when you sit as an observer. Now, the observers sit in the peanut gallery behind the interviewee. So as the person being interviewed, you really don't realize you've got a peanut gallery behind you because they are in total silence. Like, you know, there's a timekeeper. He tells us how many minutes we have left, and that's it. So do not wait. And let me tell you, I thought I would be a pretty good interviewer. I've interviewed tons of people in my career. There is nothing like sitting in that seat. It is the safest place to bomb. I had a guy once, we're in the middle, and he just called a timeout. He said, I am not ready. We said, okay, well, let's talk about it. Why did you feel that way? And then, right? So we called a timeout. You heard? People, you can go through it over and over and over as long as there's availability. You're not limited to one and done. It's not like you get a golden ticket and once you spin it at the pit crew, you can't come back. Absolutely not. We want you. We want all of you there. Wednesdays at 1. Fourth Wednesday of the month is virtual. We reserve that for the people who are outside the DFW Metroplex or have a limitation and can't travel to us in person. But observers still observe. We go into electronic breakout rooms. Same thing happens. You turn off your camera, and then you're an observer, and you get to offer feedback. So great networking up front, then practice interviews. Then there's always some tips and tricks and ideas, some new information shared when we all come back together at the end. So when you show up at the pit crew, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get amazing panelists, amazing experiences. So please come. Now, there's somebody really special that shows up at the pit crew. His name is Walt Glass. And Walt does an interview success workshop on Tuesdays for free, virtually, and he only takes 2 at a time. It's recommended, if you can, that you go through Walt's interview success workshop, but it's not mandatory at all. And we talk about some of the things. In fact, I've got a slide that talks about it as well. In terms of some of the things that Walt will work with you on. It's about selling yourself. This is what it is. You are salesmen. Everyone in this room that's looking for a job is a salesman. And you have an amazing product that is special and unique that no one else has. And the pit crew and Walt will help you sell that into the organizations. Okay. Drive to where you're going the day before. If you have an in-person interview, please. I interviewed at a company out here in Allen, and they gave me the address. She said, there's not much signage. Oh, okay. So, but, you know, I drove out there on a Sunday, and it was in, like, the concrete warehouse district. And apparently the city of Allen takes its signage seriously because there was none. There was, like, they all looked alike, and there was something about this big that had the company's logo on it. And then little numbers up at the top. So this is why you always want to show up. Go in advance, see where you're going to go, because you don't want to be late. Now, please do not turn down an interview. If you and the recruiter have talked and they've called the schedule, and maybe when that recruiter calls you, you say, well, can you tell me more about the range? The salary range. And they say, well, normally it's 70 to 85, and you were making 120. And you're like, there's no way. I can't take that kind of cut. Take the interview. I'm going to tell you about Russ. Russ was laid off during COVID, tapped into his industry, another great networking resource. All of your vendors, all of your suppliers, these are the people that need to know what you're looking for so that they can also help you. So he reached into his industry and they had a job. Russ was a senior manager, and they had a job that was a senior manager. And it turns out the salary was low. And he interviewed, and they offered him the job. He made a compelling argument for more money, but based on internal equity, they simply weren't able to meet. And so he graciously turned it down. He said, for the sake of my family right now, I can't. It's too big a step back. And here's the thing. Job titles mean nothing. So you have no idea the scope and level of responsibility, because what's a senior manager at one place could be called a senior director at another, or vice versa. So he respectfully declined, said, I love the organization, I love what you're about, but I just can't. 2 months later, they called him back. They had reorganized, and they offered him a position that was higher than where he was, and with compensation that actually really helped soften the gap of the period that he was out of work. And had he just turned it down, he'd have not given them an opportunity to get to know Russ, to create this interest that says, man, not the right job here, but we have got to find a place. There's got to be a place for this person. So take the interview. It's also a chance just to hear other random interview questions someone may throw at you. Better to practice it in a job that you're not highly invested in now than get it in the one that you are. And please keep applying. Okay, now the day of the interview, or maybe a day or two before. Look at your resume. Everything on your resume needs to have a story behind it, and you need to know your star stories or your rat stories. There's a link on Compelling Star Stories. Again, thank you, Career USA, and all the great work where all of that is posted. Know the company's details. You should go in with questions, 10 plus 1. The last one is how you're going to ask for the job. You're going to have keynotes, so your questions will be written down. You also want to, if you don't know the names of the interviewers, that's a great place, because if I put 3 people in front of you and now you've got to remember our names and we haven't given you cards, you can just write, oh, okay, well, that's Elizabeth and that's Pete, and over here to the left was Sam. And so now in your interview, you're using their names and maintaining good eye contact and connecting with them. Your intro. I am, I do, I help. This is the pit crew magic, okay? And it's really a bit of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's also a way to think about it. What you're going to do is help that company see how you're going to fit in and help them solve a problem. You want to use the names of the interviewers when you respond. And this is very different than what some of us, how we were used to interviewing, right? It was the Inquisition. It was a monologue and not a dialogue. Now, it needs to be a dialogue. So when Elizabeth asks me a question, I'm going to say, thanks, Elizabeth, that's a great question. The one thing that comes to mind, and then I answer, right? Just sprinkle them in. Again, creating that personal warmth, that personal connection. Ask questions throughout. They say, tell me about a major ERP implementation that you have managed. So you're going to give them a great star story about how you launched SAP and all the bills of lading worked when you went live and all the shipments went out and it all flowed perfectly into the accounting system. I see people laughing. Okay. Yeah, I don't know anybody that's ever happened to. So you tell them your great star story about an ERP implementation, and then you immediately say, are you considering a new ERP? So you're asking them, and they're going to tell you about this new ERP. And now the rest of your interview, you're going to be thinking about implementation. You're going to keep that in mind specifically. So by having this dialogue with them, by asking follow-up questions, you're able to tailor your answers to give them your I am, I do, and I help. You're always going to send a thank you. Again, I love smattering in the requirements and the qualifications, your energy, your enthusiasm for it. You can send one electronically. You can also, it's recommended, believe it or not, yes, send something handwritten. I talked to someone, who was, gosh, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, it was the guy I coached last week. He actually went home, hand wrote, drove back up and delivered them at the reception desk. And he had interviewed with 9 people, and all 9 of his thank you notes were different and targeted to the conversations that they had. That's a differentiator. That tells me I care about people, I care about your time. It says a lot about who you are. What if you don't get the job? You get the, gosh, it was really hard. It came down to 2 people and they just had a little more information. You graciously thank them, and then you're going to follow up with that recruiter and that hiring manager in about 60 to 90 days because they might have made the wrong choice. That person that they selected now gave their 2-week, number one, got through the background check. That takes a while. Then they gave their 2 weeks notice. So after 60 days, they've probably only been on the job about 30. And a manager's getting a sense as to whether or not this is going to work or not. So do not hesitate to follow up. Again, restate your value, what you bring, why you're impressed with the organization, and how you would love to be a part of it. Videos. I'm not going to go into detail on this. You can read it because I'm watching the clock. However, I want to point out a couple things. One of the challenges with video interviews is a lack of connection. And oftentimes managers will say, I really just couldn't connect with them. And it's because there's no eye contact. So the way you overcome that is you put a little sticky note up at that little white bright light on your screen with a smiley face. And you also write the words, breathe. Something happens on the video side, not necessarily in person, that when the other person starts talking, you hold your breath. Okay, lack of oxygen to the brain is not a good thing, especially in an interview. So you just need to remind yourself to breathe. But then when you're answering their question, you're going to look into that little dot. And it's hard because you want to look down and you want to see the reaction to how you're responding. You want to read their body language. But this is how you maintain eye contact. Even if they don't do it, most of them don't, they're not good at it, please, this will set you apart. This will build a connection that they're not going to be able to have with other candidates. Okay, common mistakes, real quick. Lack of real preparation, and that's underlined. You just think you're ready? If you show up at the pit crew one time and never come back, or if you've never shown up to observe and then you're a candidate and you show up and then never come back, you're not working on your real preparation. If you're not taking advantage of these resources, the resume reviews that are done in Colleyville, the LinkedIn, like really preparing. Not using the AI tools that are available, not customizing the resume. We've talked about typos and grammar. Take your resume, read it out loud, word for word. I have seen plenty of production mangers instead of production managers, right? There are just some things that, as good as word is, it's not going to catch. So read it out loud, have a friend read it out loud, and then not having star stories ready. So I helped a guy, I'll tell you this story. John John lives down the street from me, and his son and mine were best friends all through high school and like in each other's weddings. Like right? The front door was always open. Our kids were back and forth. And I attended a bridal shower and found out that he had been out of work for over a year. I had no idea because there was no vulnerability, right? He never asked, and I didn't know the situation. So I'm like, all right, well, we got to fix that. So we met the next week, and we talked about star stories. He says, you know, I got them. I just can't remember them. Okay, guys, then it's not your star story. It's not, right? You need to study yourself. I think you need 5 to 7 star stories, maybe a few more. But think about the impactful things and times in your career. A question for my pit crew friends that I always ask. Tell me about a good day when you got in the car, closed the door, and was like, yes, that was a good day. Each of you right now can think of one of those somewhere in your career that immediately draws an emotional reaction. There's one of your star stories. And it might be because of the success of a team. Oh, look, there's a story about teamwork in a star story. It might have been about solving a difficult problem. Great, there's a problem solving. Like, there's so many opportunities, but you need to really reflect, and it needs to be your own. Don't ask ChatGPT to make up star stories for you, because you know what? You won't remember those. These need to be all about you. Again, there's the link. Go look at star stories. Not practicing interviewing. Have I talked about that? Okay. And don't assume that just because someone introduces you through their network that you're automatically in. I've seen that. And then I've seen people make the mistake of stopping their search, right? You meet with the hiring manager. They're like, oh, Jama, we love you. HR is on vacation this week. I don't know why they take so much vacation in HR, but when she gets back, I will have her get you an offer. Jama is ecstatic. Finally, I've prayed for this, finally. And she relaxes, and then nothing happens the next week. Because the hiring manager didn't know there was going to be a budget freeze or get laid off or whatever. So keep your foot on the accelerator. Keep your foot on the accelerator, beat your competition, be the differentiation. Okay, it is 10:30. I've got about 3 slides left, 2 on compensation and then 1 more. So do you want me to keep going? Go, go, go. All right, Foster says go, go, go. I do what Foster tells me. Okay, now you've got an offer. Don't accept it until you fully understand all of the elements, right? And when they say, and this will probably be one of your questions, okay, so what's your salary expectation? Well, you never give them $1, you give them a range. And you always follow it up by saying, you know, until I can further understand the complexity of the job and the cost of benefits and the benefits received, I'm not able to be any more specific than that. But does that range fit with the company's range? Because the company has a range and you have a range. So you've got to understand, yes, base pay, but what's the cost of benefits? Is the company subsidizing a significant portion of employee health care, or are you going to be paying almost COBRA rates just to get access into a PPO? So you need to understand, you need to get a copy of the benefit summary, ask for the contribution rates and worksheets, understand all of that, what's going to come out. Then, what are the other opportunities of compensation that are going to come in? Is this a bonus eligible position? Be careful. Be careful on bonus. I've worked for a company that would say, we have a 30% target bonus. What? 30%? That's amazing. Well, tell me how you earn 30%. Well, we pay 15% when we reach our company financial stretch goals. And then if we hit 120% of EBIT instead of 100% of EBIT, then we hit 30%. Have you ever paid 30%? Well, not that I can remember. Not that I can remember, right? Then there are other companies who say, it's a 20% target. And you say, how often do you hit that? Well, normally we come in somewhere between 95% of that, and sometimes we get a little more. Okay, so you need to understand the math behind the bonus. I can't even use the word promise. It's not a promise, obviously. Potential, the bonus potential. Are there stock options? Is there an employee stock purchase where you can buy stock at a discounted rate, or that the company will put some contributions towards that for you? What's the 401k match? What's the vesting? Because they may match, but they may have a 2 or 3 year vesting, so that if you leave before that, you're leaving all the company match on the table. Yes, you need to understand paid time off, company holidays. These are the questions that you ask the recruiter when they make you the offer. Don't talk about how much PTO you're going to get and how much time off on vacations you're going to get to the hiring manager, because they need you working. That's what they're interested in. It is okay to ask the recruiter, what's the eligibility for my next pay review? Most companies run on an annual fiscal year. Some don't. Some run it a little different. And normally the merit cycle is also annually. If you get hired now, you're getting a 2025 salary, and you'll be eligible for a salary review in January, normally. If you get hired in September or October, they have taken 2025 salary, and then they're probably going to offer you 2.5% or 3% more to pull you into 2026 salary levels, and you're not going to be eligible for that January 2026 salary review. Make sense? So you need to know. Now, it may or may not affect whether you accept it, but it's a good question to ask, and it helps manage your expectations as well as the department's expectations. Other things, hybrid, remote, on-site. Yes, there are still remote jobs. Hybrid, yes. 100% on time, on-site, yes. All of those exist. Is there a signing bonus? So if you counter, let's say that I offer you $100,000 and you counter with $110,000. I may say, I appreciate it, I hear you, but we've already taken internal equity into account with other people in the department, and I need to respect and maintain that in the organization. Well, could you do a signing bonus? You know what? I'll go back to the hiring manager and see. Now, it's not going to exponentially grow your base pay, but it's better than nothing. And they don't retract. If you graciously ask and can justify the reason for your request, I've never seen anyone pull an offer simply because someone countered. Recruiters are expecting it. It's a little tighter these days, okay? So, but yes, they expect you to counter. But that's why I say, don't answer immediately, but like within 24 hours, you need to come back to them. Whatever you do, please do not say, well, I'm interviewing with another company and they said they were going to get me an offer and I'd really like to see what they do. You just told me I'm not your first choice. Take the offer. If your dream job comes in, great. Take it, but at least take the offer that you've got. Okay, little hard stuff here. And I don't think this is an area that, although last month's presentation Guys, please go back and watch it on video because there was some work done here in terms of your mental health and taking care of yourself. This is hard. You are doing hard work, and it feels like some days it just feels like it's a job of rejection. So you've got to take care of yourself, and the ways you do that, the development that I talked about, physical and mental exercise, sunshine, get outside, okay? Go learn new things. I will ask, tell me about a book or podcast that impacted you. So what are you listening to? How are you sharpening your skills? Get away from the computer. Get away. Work great for Bill Gates, okay, but you can lose sight, okay? You lose track of time. The day is gone. So just manage your time well, the time that you're in front of the computer and the time that you're here in person in these networking meetings. Go to church. I loved, the most comforting thing for me in my search was in virtually every meeting I attended, I was covered in prayer for the right employer, for the right compensation, that employer's heart and mind would be open to the skills of the people in this room for the right job. That was just, it was just like a warm blanket, right, of reassurance. Volunteerism is important. Number one, you get dopamine by helping others, right? It's kind of like that exercise, that high that you get. But if Pepsi is one of your preferred companies and you know that they do a lot of work at the North Texas Area Food Bank and that's one of your target companies, guess where you better be volunteering? Yep. And even if you're not there when they are, that volunteer coordinator knows people in there. And there are other people showing up to volunteer, and you're going to get to meet them and tell them about I am, I do, I help. Accountability groups, very important. This is why I love when we do the online networking for HR and for some other groups. Foster and Pete say, number one, turn on your camera, and put not only your name, but where you are. Right? D. Robinson, parentheses, Flower Mound. Now, I don't do that because, let's be honest, I'll drive anywhere. But that, by putting that on there, it helps you identify other people that live near you that you could build an accountability group with. Now, an accountability group is not your wind down Wednesday girlfriends, okay? They play a special place. It's not your golf and craft brew guys. They play a special place. These are people that are going to say, all right, Chris, you said that you were going to identify 3 target companies and make 3 contacts through your network. Did you do that? And we're going to celebrate victories, and we're going to talk about strategies when we get that rejection. So by putting your name, right, D. Robinson, parentheses, Flower Mound, when I'm online, then you can see who lives around you. If everybody would do that, that's a quick way to form accountability groups. And then this is just helpful links. I love learning, and I have learned so much since my retirement on how to help job seekers. And so I have given you some links of some of my favorite people that I've discovered through LinkedIn. And here's the magic, is once you start studying them and their posts, the algorithm takes over and it fills you with more. There are all kinds of ChatGPT prompt resources, amazing interviews. This woman, Anna Papalia, she's hysterical. Funny to watch, but really insightful. So these are just some of my favorites. As I say, trash or treasure. That's just a bigger version of the chat prompt. And then a story about this. When I left, so I worked for 23 years. I was merged, divested, and acquired 5 times in 23 years. at LTV, Vought Aircraft, Northrop Grumman, Vought Aircraft Industries, and Triumph Group. Every service pin has a different company name on it, okay? And I left because my boss said, when are you gonna go do something bigger? And for me, that meant I had to go to Philadelphia if I was gonna stay with the company. And so I chose to leave, and it shocked people after 23 years. But he's the one that told me about the movie, You Pack Your Chute. And he had watched it in an early leadership development course. Now, guys, this is a color film from 1972 that is so old it looks like it's in black and white. I mean, it's that old. But that's where Eden Real jumps out of the airplane. And I would tell people that story, and I had an employee come by my office and draw this picture on my whiteboard. What I didn't know is that 13 months later, I would be laid off. And what I didn't know is that when people in this room get a job, we call it a landing. So I wish you a safe landing. And now I can open it up for questions, or you want to take a break and come back for questions?
Yeah, we're going to get ready
Perfect.
to take a break, Dee.
Okay.
But I just want to say, we've had many fantastic presenters over the 15 years at Frisco Connect, but this is one of the best I've ever heard. Really.
Thank you.
And I want to remind you that this is a lot of information. And we will post this video and this presentation on friscoconnect.org so that you can review it if you maybe missed something, didn't get it down in your notes. And the great thing about the video is you can pause it, back it up, listen to it again, and we'll have the slide presentation also posted with it. The links on those slides are live links so that you can use that, to get the presentation and then click on the links, and you don't have to have everything written down. That's very important. I want to make sure you know that, okay? So thank you so much. And we're going to do a little Q&A. Foster, here, you got 60 seconds.
Oh, man, shutting me down. Dee, thanks. Guys, I like to have the HR perspective, and Dee is the top of HR. And she's been at this a long time. She is us. She was us. She said that. So here's what we want to do, guys. I want you guys to understand. I'm gonna get real with it, all right? Y'all know how hard job search is right now? It's not gonna get any easier. Look at all the things that we're going through. Guys, I'm telling you, and I know you guys hear me say this all the time, and Dee will agree with me, there are many people that you will meet, including Anna Parker. Where'd Sarah Jacob go? There she is back there. Guys, there are certain people that you will have an affinity when you meet them. You're like, this person's pretty cool. Stay in contact with that person. Connect with that person. Develop a relationship if they give you an opportunity to do that, and they will. There's a reason why you feel the way you feel. Guys, I'm here to tell you, develop these relationships. Going forward, with all the things that we don't even know we're going to face yet, you're going to want to do that. That's what this network has been built for you guys to do. Now, I'm going to shut up about that. I talk about that all the time. Now I get back to normal. Yeah. Did somebody have Oh, we don't want to forget John Machinsky. Right there is John Machinsky. And, real quick, I'm going to let John tell you guys what it is that he does. And again, thank you, Dee. That is awesome. We're not done. Don't go nowhere. Go to break. All the stuff you do at break. But we're going to come back and we're going to ask and answer questions with Dee when after break. All right, here's John Machinsky. Tell him something.
Thanks, Foster. All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is John Machinsky. I'm the Director of Admissions at ComputerMinds.com. Foster and Pete asked me to come out here on your guys' Tuesday meetings to talk about some free training resources to be able to help you with your transition. At Computer Minds, we offer short-term certification trainings for the information technology, networking, cloud, cybersecurity, project management, and the logistics and supply chain fields. So the CompTIA, Microsoft, Cisco, PMP, Six Sigma, Scrum, SC Pro, all the different certifications that are in demand and have value in the transition. We're able to offer these services free of charge because we have a partnership with the Texas Workforce Commission. There's a program called WIOA, which stands for Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. If you're currently collecting unemployment, maybe your unemployment's run out, you're on food stamps, you're on TANF, the different state benefits that are out there, or you're employed but severely low income, those are different qualifiers for the workforce, the WIOA scholarship. I've been working with it now for 13 years, started in this industry in 2012. All of the counties in DFW have workforce offices, and they all have funding right now. Tarrant County spends $8,000 per customer. Dallas spends up to $15,000, and North Central, the surrounding counties, it's up to $17,000 right now. So they will spend for certification training to be able to help you with your transition. So if certifications is something you're interested in, when you go on break, that little white table in the back, I can answer your questions, whether it's related to my program or just WIOA as a whole. Or if you don't get a chance to speak with me, go to my website, computerminds.com. When you request information, there's a drop-down box for South Lake Focus Group because it's related to Foster. Pick that, your information will get to me, and I'll be able to help answer your questions. But I've been referring people to WIOA now since 2012. I know all the offices, all the processes, so I can help you navigate through this if training and certification is something you're interested in. So that's all I got. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy. Wow. Okay, so you guys got some people after or in the middle, before you go, or all that stuff. Take care of yourself at the break. You got me? You feel where I'm going with that? So, say that again. Yes, it's gonna take about maybe 30 minutes or so. And then I am going to get back on this mic and demand that you guys go sit down and shut up. And then we'll get started with D again, guys. Questions and answers. So we've got D back with us.
All right.
Pete is transitioning to us up here. There was another
I got
mic.
it.
Okay, you got it.
I
okay.
got it.
All right. I'm going to interrupt.
Where's Pete at? Where's that voice?
No, it's me.
John's got it.
Yeah. If you have a question, we'll try and get the mic to you as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And please stand up and introduce yourself. This is a networking group, and everybody can see who you are. And we want to record it on the video so that others can get the benefit of your question.
Right.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be running the mics, me and John. So if you have a question, pack a lunch. It may take us a while to get there. No, I'm kidding. Okay, let's start. Anybody got a question right away? Oh.
Hey, wait.
Okay.
Time out. Hang on. Before the questions, sorry, you'll be first, I promise. There are a couple of things that have come up during our break and intermission that I want to talk about in general. So the point of differentiation. If you have access to your old performance reviews in those paper files somewhere in your house, go back and look at those. Those can be really great thought starters on what did we do? And by the way, most managers, and sometimes we try, right, to make them smart, specific, measurable, attainable, results-oriented, and traceable. So R for the results. So if you're struggling to figure out, well, what kind of results do I have as an AP clerk? Or what kind of results do I have as a finance manager? Dust off those performance reviews. Think about your performance management coaching sessions that you had with your boss and really spend some time introspectively, because I think that can help you formulate then some good star stories as well as maybe some bullets for your resume. The other point I want to make, Pete and I were talking about this before the session, is this notion of being ghosted by recruiters And I will tell you, they're not ghosting you. They are managing, most recruiters, it depends on the organization. I've seen recruiters that are managing upwards of 30 plus openings at once. So that's 30 individual managers they're trying to support. But let me tell you what's happening behind the scenes. Remember I told you how that manager has to get the approval finally to post the job, right? So the manager gets approval, the job gets posted, and then there's a hiring freeze. Well, here's what's going to happen. A manager is not going to cancel their posting because they don't want to go through all those levels of approval again. So they're going to tell the recruiter to put it on hold. And so there's no activity that's going on. There's no communication to the candidates. I mean, maybe occasionally they'll give you an update that say it's been put on hold, but that's what's going on behind the scenes. The candidates don't want to lose that candidate pool. I mean, the recruiters don't want to lose that candidate pool and start over. So they're going to hold on to your resume. Once they close it, a lot of times that ATS will send you that very generic email that says, thank you for your application. The position's been closed. I see some heads nodding over here. Yep, you've all gotten those. I've gotten those. But that's what's going on with the recruiters. So a lot of times they've put a job on hold, and they don't want to send you that final no thank you because they need you to stay warm. They need a strong applicant pool. Okay, questions?
Yeah, this is William McLaughlin, and I actually have two suggestions here. So I know the first one is really for those that don't have target companies. Like there's a and the Career USA YouTube channel is mentioned earlier. Go back to October on that YouTube channel because there's a video around there where our very own Pete Hernandez and Mike Ray present on the tool called Reference Solutions. Which is a tool you can use to help you find target companies, and it's a great tool to use for in your job search as you're in that research phase. And my second suggestion is there's a YouTube channel out there called A Life After Layoff. It's got all sorts of videos that they cover about every job search topic you could imagine, and on that channel, and so I highly recommend everyone check out that YouTube channel. Again, it's called A Life After Layoff. Appreciate you letting me jump in here real quick.
William, let me
Thank you.
address what you just talked about, Reference Solutions. Mike Ray has decided to retire, and I am going to look at Reference Solutions again, and I'm in the process of converting that to an AI presentation because I found I can do almost exactly the same thing using AI. So I am working right now to convert it. So Reference Solutions is available through your local library, and it is still a great product, but I can do the same thing in about 1/3 the time using AI. So I'm in the process of revising that, and future presentations will be focused more on AI than they will be on Reference Solutions.
I'm Nikki Duncan. Mine's not so much a question, but you talk about how to find our metrics, our results. I attended several months ago an online job summit, and they shared a piece of advice that helped me figure out what my metrics were, and it helped me figure out my star/rats stories. And that was to stop worrying about what bullet points to put on my resume, open a Word document, and pretend that I was sitting at dinner or drinks or whatever with a friend, and I was wanting to really brag about what I had done, and just start at the top and free flow thoughts. Thank you. Just write everything I did from day one at my job to the day, I can't even count that high, no, the last day of my job. Just write everything I did, every story, everything that popped in my head, and just let it flow. And with a 26+ year career in one job, it was a lot. But then I took that document that was pretty long and I fed it into Chat GPT and said, based on this career story and this job description, help me find relevant bullet points. And then from there, I could also tell it, help me figure out my RATs or my star stories. And it really helped me figure out my metrics.
That's great. And hang on, Foster has a comment about that. I also want to just share, so as I was reading and listening to various presenters, and I wrote this down, data moves the mind, but stories move the heart. And that's what you've done. And thank you for explaining how we can do that better. Foster?
I'll tell you a little secret, guys, about relevance. I'm glad that you brought that up. Reference USA, Reference Solutions, it used to be called Reference USA, guys. Data Axle bought them, and they're called Reference Solutions. Now, if you like the company and what they did, and you get laid off, you can find other companies that might be competitive companies to what you did at that company. You'll find other companies using Reference Solutions. You can find other companies that do the same thing or they're in the same arena of what it is that you did. Now, why I'm saying this is because, and I hope Anna Kay agrees with me, if you already have experience in that industry, you're going to be a preferred hire over maybe another candidate because you have worked in that industry. You understand the acronyms, you understand the methodologies and all the things that are involved there. So it will vault you, and a lot of times, more times than not, it will vault you ahead of another candidate. So find those companies that are synchronous to where you have been. Okay, I'm shutting up.
Okay, so now you're going to make me do this. So finding your target companies real quick. I mean, seriously, this is going to take you all of 5 minutes. Go to your ChatGPT. There's something called an NAICS code, North American Industry Classification System Code. So if your last company was, say, give me a company.
IBM.
IBM. So you can put in into ChatGPT, give me the NAICS code for IBM. It's going to give you a code, 6-digit code. Every government, every company out there, it's a government issued code, financial code. So if you're a financial industry, you're familiar with those codes. Then go back into ChatGPT and say, give me the list of companies in the DFW area or in the US if you like, under this NAICS code. Ta-da! You have a list of target companies. You can now start researching and seeing if they're hiring in the local area. This is what I've turned the 1 hour plus presentation on target companies into using ChatGPT. So there's more to be added to that. I'm not going to give away all the goodies here, but that'll get you a great start to find your target companies. Done.
Anybody else?
Great info. By the way, when you introduce yourself, could you tell us what your target job is? That would be great.
So Marjorie Webster, target job, mergers and acquisitions, technical integration. Question with regards to AI as it pertains to helping you create resumes and cover letters. I've heard that a lot of hiring or HR departments now discourage resumes that are built with AI, and they have systems to detect whether or not those resumes have been built with AI, and they kick those resumes out. Is that true?
I have heard that said, but I do not know that it is truth because I don't know how an ATS, an applicant tracking system, can know who the author is. I will say this, it needs to be your voice. So if you are using that tool and you're getting that first screening and you're not able to articulate in the same manner is what a recruiter is seeing or a hiring manager is seeing, that's how they're going to figure out. But I'm not aware that there is any sophistication beyond that.
Yeah. And I would agree with that. I do resume reviews every Friday morning over at Market Street in Colleyville, and I can spot an AI-generated resume like within 3 seconds. I had a gentleman sit in front of me last Friday, he had taken his Clifton Strengths results, fed them into AI, along with his resume, and said, incorporate this. This thing read like, I just can't even describe it. You can tell automatically it was machine generated and not him. Because as soon as he started talking to me, he was going, the words coming out of your mouth would not match the words on that piece of paper, including the fact that one of his 5 strengths was harmony. So throughout the whole thing, it was describing how harmonious he was and everything he did. And come on now, which one of you speaks like that every day? So now there's hundreds and hundreds of ATS systems out there, not to mention all the different variations. AI is a fairly recent, phenomenon as compared to ATS systems. I agree with what Dee is saying. There's no way they've already incorporated all that into these old stodgy ATS systems. So, but it is a human being who's going to put eyeballs on that and say exactly what she said. There's no way.
Guys, if we're using AI, I love AI, but like Pete said, make it sound like Marjo. I'm picking on you, Marjo, because that was your question. So, how you do that, Foster? I'm going to tell you guys something. If you have not shared, now you may want to do that and ask AI to help you. And this is what I want to convey. Now, AI can help you with that. But how in the world is AI going to ask a question or write you a cover letter or something that has your thoughts? AI does not have your thoughts, guys. Now, this is common sense. Make AI speak like Marjo. Make AI proofread what AI is giving you and utilize the way you would sync it up with the conversation, with the idea that you're trying to convey. Make it sound like you. Don't let it be AI. If it sounds like AI, there's a good chance it'll go into the trash. So, Marjo, your answer is kind of like, yeah, sometimes it does, sometimes it. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Okay.
All right. Somebody over here had a question. There you go.
Hi, my name is Alethea Crossman. I'm looking for executive assistant work. I make, my skill set is making an executive's life easier and make the operation run more smoothly. And my question is for Dee Robinson. Dee, you referenced a cover letter as a T letter, and I've not heard it referred that way. Could you expand on that? Because I have a feeling there's something I'm missing in making that cover letter as impactful as possible. Thank you.
Sure. So the T format cover letter, and when you use that prompt, I don't know if we can go back. Yeah, I don't know if, okay, I'll show you what it looks like. And here's why it's called a T cover letter. Sorry to make you guys dizzy for zooming and scrolling this way. Okay. The reason it's called a T format is because you've got the white space and then you've got the line down the middle that separates their requirements on one side and your qualifications on the other.
So it's columnized.
Exactly, in a table format. So this white space above what you're looking for, and then that divider in the middle. That's it. Now, I'll tell you something very innovative. I interviewed a candidate last week as part of the PIC crew, or a one-off, because she was ill and couldn't do a regular panel. She uploaded 3 documents to the job that she was interviewing for. She uploaded her resume, she uploaded a cover letter, and she uploaded an overview of her qualifications. And y'all, she had taken exactly this. Here's the requirements. Here's what I bring to the table. And then her third column was, and here are the companies where I have used this skill. So as a recruiter, I'd have loved that because it would have loaded me up and I could have said, well, tell me about this project at TI when you had to launch a new project for a new semiconductor. So yeah, I mean, again, what you put into those applicant tracking systems, right, it is going to be up to the recruiter whether or not they're going to use it or not. But I really thought that was kind of ingenious, and I'd never seen that before as an addendum to a resume. Thank you for the question.
Can I defend myself a little bit about cover letters?
Yes, you may.
Look, I am a believer in cover letters, but I also know, and talking to all the recruiters that I talk to on a weekly basis, when you post a job and you get 200 applicants in the first half hour, they just don't often have the time to read them. So I'm not saying don't include them, just don't put all your gold nuggets in that cover letter that are not in your resume already, because there's a good chance they may never be read. So that's where I want
It's a
you
great
to be
point.
careful. So again, I'm not saying don't ever do it. First of all, you got to spend time doing it on something that may or may not be read. And when you're trying to apply for jobs, and sometimes the ATS is not as friendly as it should be in terms of mapping your data, then you got to spend time doing that. And now you got to do, put up a cover letter as well. So that's the only reason that, and again, in talking to the recruiters that I talk to, they just don't have the time. It's not that they don't love them. It's just that it may not ever get read. So just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Questions?
Nikki again. I'm full of it with AI. Nikki Duncan, again, operations management, chief of staff kind of work is what I'm looking for. On the AI stuff and trying to make it sound like you, that career story that I wrote, that's in my narrative voice. So when I put that into Chat GPT, now when I do cover letters or resume posts or whatever, I can tell Chat GPT, use my career story as my narrative voice and make this sound like me. And when Chat GPT kicks something back and writes it in something way I won't do, I tell Chat GPT, I don't like when you use that, don't do that again. And so I am constantly training Chat GPT to sound like me. And then I still proofread it because it does still make stuff up.
Great point. Thank you.
Troy?
My name is Troy Taylor. I'm a director of FP&A, Financial Planning and Analysis. My question is kind of around tailoring your resume. Do you have tips for how you approach that and sort of keys that you kind of zone in on?
Yeah, so tailoring the resume is important. And I think when you were at that senior manager, director level, or maybe you've gone, let's say, from engineering into program management, you should probably maintain a base resume that really is just I don't want to say a
Everything.
dump, but your master, right? But if you're applying for something that, let's say it's FP&A and it's publicly traded, and so SOX and audit are going to be more important than if it's a startup, FP&A, then you're going to glean those key attributes for that specific job. That's how you would customize it. What I've seen too often is people try and put everything on there, and it waters down your true qualifications in that strong match for the position and the skills that they're looking for. So that's why you really do need to pay attention to the job description, see what it is they're asking for, and then you absolutely need to lead with those things as critical elements on your resume. And you might leave it off. You know, someone that moved out of engineering into program management, for instance, in aerospace, if they've got a long enough career, except for their degree being in aerospace engineering or electrical engineering, you wouldn't even really mention the engineering piece, because a program manager doesn't need an engineer. You've got engineers on the program for that. So that's where customizing it really comes into play. You know, I loved in HR. I started out in employee benefits, then I did employee and labor relations. That's where my heart is. Oh man, like I said, love union negotiations, gravitate to that. Did executive succession planning and learning and development. Wasn't my greatest thrill. So I don't put that on there if I was recruiting, you know, applying for a director of labor relations job. It's not relevant, and it gives me more space to put more accomplishments and achievements towards that specific job that the company has for me.
I take a little bit of a different approach, following the same thing that Dee just said. usually, and in fact, I'll be doing this Thursday at South Lake, even though it's a LinkedIn 101 presentation, I include some of this in terms of getting your resume set up. In terms of, you're looking for an FP&A role, I don't know what industry you're interested in, or I know you can be in any industry, but I ask you to pick an industry and then start looking at job descriptions that are already on LinkedIn and seeing what it is they're looking for. So you're basically doing the tailoring, a lot of the tailoring ahead of time. So by the time you find the role, it's minimal tailoring. You're just changing some of the wording they may use, some of the things that Dee was just talking about. They really want this task higher than the other. So there's also something called a LinkedIn Explorer page. It's a GitHub page. You won't find it within LinkedIn, but you can put any job title out there and it'll tell you based on their analysis, these are the typical skills that we see in that job. So those skills should already be on your LinkedIn profile and should be on your resume already, assuming of course you have them. And then again, the tailoring is minimal towards the end. You're changing maybe the title they gave it, because I 100% agree with what Dee said earlier. A senior manager here is a director over there, a VP over here, and a VP over there. So if you're searching on titles, forget that, because you're going to be very disappointed. You're going to put yourself in a hole you don't want to be in. You want to broaden it out, because it's a skill set you're after, not necessarily the title. So I would say do the prep work a little bit ahead of time, so that when you're applying, it minimizes the amount of time you're spending on that application, on that job description.
One thing I'd like to mention is in doing your research, target companies, networking, one of the things that wasn't, I've been running around a lot, so maybe I missed it, but one of the things that wasn't brought up was, and we only have a few minutes left, informational interviewing. And that's where you get together with somebody that you met at one of these meetings and you invite them for a cup of coffee, and you don't ask them, you know, I want a job with your company. But if they're in your target, what you're shooting for as far as what you want to do, and if they're in a target company, you can buy them a cup of coffee and just ask them questions, you know, about what's going on in that company, or, you know, I'm trying to learn more about this department in TI, and I notice on your profile on LinkedIn that you've been there for a while, and just sit down with somebody and gather information from them to get insights on what's going on with the culture, the way they operate, et cetera, so you're best prepared for when you do get the call that's inviting you in for an interview. Anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, so the informational interviews, I think, are very important. That's where joining those very large groups are helpful if you don't have those connections, to see if you can find one. And then the other thing I would say is, if you're going to meet for coffee, meet at Panera or at Einstein Bagels, because you get free refills. Don't meet at Starbucks.
Well, no, Starbucks is starting to do some free refills. I saw that online.
Okay.
Yeah. But you have to buy something. You just can't go in and sit down with your laptop. You got to buy
anymore.
something.
Thank you. Any money-saving tips we get is always. What else we got? I got somebody in the back there, John.
Oh,
Hi, Van Scam, Senior Manager of Problem Management, or Tier 3 level support, Dev Analyst, whatever you want to call it, right? My question is, I've been in the industry for the past 10 years, and prior to going into the industry, the whole entire landscape has changed in regards to like actually looking for a job now, right? It's a lot harder these days, and we're having a lot of complaints that, you know, there's ghostings, there's issues of not getting back. That's from our side of things. When I say our side, candidate side, job seeker side, but I'd like to get the perspective of the recruiters or hiring managers. What are like the top 3 issues that you guys are facing, so this way we can have insight into, you know, problems on your side, so this way we can say, okay, there is an individual, there is a person on the other side, and not just an ATS that is just blocking everybody.
That's a big question. That we could do a whole nother workshop on that probably. So I think let's assume that you're having a conversation with a recruiter, that you've gotten to that point. Ask, and this is part of also asking for the job. Would it schedule a time? When do you expect to finish the first round of interviews? Oh, we've got some this week. Well, would it be okay if I reached out to you on Tuesday after 10? And would a text message be okay? So recruiters, lots of work is done with their thumbs now, if you haven't noticed that, because it takes more time to have a conversation than it does to send a quick reply. And they're, like I said, they've got 30 jobs at a time. They're trying to be as efficient as possible and keep as many candidates warm as possible. But I think really having that conversation and nailing down a commitment for a follow-up then gives you permission for that reach, and it gives them a sense of obligation on a reply because they've told you it's okay to reach out. Did that help? That answer it a little bit? Okay. Yeah, managers don't like to interview. That's not their core competency at all. They may or may not be trained at all. And then after they're trained, they've got to document it. And, there's a lot that goes into it, from a manager's perspective.
Very good. Okay, we're about ready to wrap up. A couple of things I'd like you to know. Those of you who are here for the first time, we're going to assemble. If you go out these doors and to your right, there's a room at the end of the hallway near the outside doors. It's on your left. That's where we're going to meet for our first timers welcome meeting. I'd also like to ask your help in making sure your water cups and coffee cups are put away. And that if you would gather on your table in like piles, the handouts there, that would save us a lot of time because they're going to come in here and do some construction. We're not chasing you away. We still have some time for you to hang out, get another cup of coffee. If you're networking, if you want to resume a conversation or anything like that. And Pete?
I just wanted to say thank you so much to Dee for everything she did for us today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. I'd love to see all of you, if not in person, online for South Lake Focus Thursday morning. In person is always better, but I understand if you can't make it all the way out there, like Nikki lives over there in Oklahoma or someplace. Please join us online if you can't be there in person. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.